You ready to go? All right, without further ado, here's Cary Hardy.
Oh, man, okay. Well, he pretty much took care of all my work right there. I don't have to say anything now. I hope my voice is going to hold through, guys, but we'll just see how it goes. Christopher Franchi is supposed to be here, but he's going to be late. So the plan is that when he does get here, we're going to, erupt and, we've been waiting so graciously for him to be here. Like, he's the greatest person. He'll love it. So I may interrupt at some point or whatever when I see him walking. Just everybody needs to cheer for him that he's here. But so, out of curiosity, who all here has played Looney Tunes and or Texas Chainsaw Massacre? And
Oh yeah.
okay.
Oh yeah.
So
sorry.
now, originally when I went into this, I was expecting to be a big fan of Looney Tunes. This is just my personal preference, but I was honestly surprised that Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 4 flips in, I was like, it's already your best shooter. I'm like, all right, I already like it a lot better than the games that I've played that you've done. That's just my personal preference, but I was like, it already shoots a lot better. But enough of my opinions. I want to start by introducing everybody else here to you, or vice versa, rather. But so we'll start from this end right here. Introduce yourself and what it is that you contributed to these games.
So I'm Brad Duke. I did all the art on Looney Tunes.
And a darn fine job he did. I am Corwin Bug Emery from Spooky Pinball. I am co-designer of Looney Tunes and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, production management, and Spooky Luke's personal handler.
I'm Hilton Jones. I tell Ben Heck what to do better. Rule set and ideas and immersion. Work with Ben. It's been awesome, to be honest. Love it. It's been a lot of fun. On Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I'm Spooky Luke. I am the Chief Operating Officer at Spooky Pinball and also co-designer of Texas Chainsaw and Looney Tunes.
And I'm Ben. I was the programmer. Sorry. I wanted to do karaoke. I programmed Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
And so that's one of the questions I guess we can ask. And I know if those of you out there listen to podcasts or watch anything in regards to pinball, then chances are you probably already know the answers to these particular questions, but a lot of you do not. So some of these questions may sound repetitive because you've heard the answers before, but regardless, a lot of people are still going to want to know the answers to these. And I believe before you did 2 different themes, Ultraman and Halloween. And I want to say at one point you said, we're not going to do that again because I guess there was issues or it was difficult. But yeah, here we are with 2 themes again. Can you explain why you decided to do 2 themes again?
Yeah, so we tend to truthfully be one of, if not the most honest pinball company, but when I said we would never do it again, I was probably lying within 3 weeks of launching Halloween and Ultraman, because we were very satisfied with how that went, and we learned a lot from that, and we learned exactly how we could go about it in a much better fashion this time around, for sure.
Yeah, having 2 totally different teams was kind of probably the main key on this one. And then one thing that I did like later on too was that they were kind of totally separate and they came up with the rules for the game completely separate. So they ended up so different that a lot of people, like Don's Pinball Podcast, bought 2 or 4 or 6 of them or whatever, how many he bought, because they can play both and have such a different experience on the same layout. So.
Yeah, the 2 different development teams between the games worked out, honestly, even better than we could have imagined. It's insane to me how there's virtually no crossover in the rules whatsoever. Both games will be a completely different experience for anybody who plays them. And a big part of that was we just did not have those 2 teams communicate much at all with each other. So a lot of the rules that Hilton did for Texas Chainsaw Massacre are just beyond different from anything in Looney Tunes.
And that was one of the questions that you've already answered was basically, the whole 2 different teams. And I love that because that was a fear, was that the 2 games are going to be so closely the same, just a different skin, but it's completely different inserts and stuff like that as well. And when I was first playing, or second playing Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Hilton came up beside me, and at that time I didn't know who you were. So I just thought it was some random guy telling me how I'm playing this wrong and everything because I'm an awful player. But he's like, So I see you haven't figured out the skill shot yet. And I'm just like, no. I
You
just
would
hit a
not
button.
believe how many funny first interaction with Hilton stories I have.
But like Hilton, I just want to like you to elaborate further on, I guess, your mindset and why you were what things that you were telling me about why you coded it the way you have and things that you're working on in regards to that, because you wanted to basically span over a large amount of people with different skill sets. You have those that have a tournament mindset, then you have those that are just like, can I just bash that over and over again? I mean, if you want to elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, I want to be clear. It's Ben and I together. It
I'm
really
sorry,
is
Ben.
very collaborative. Ben has a ton of ideas, and I joke, but Ben and I have been friends for over a decade.
For some reason.
I don't know why, but we're really comfortable telling each other, like, hey, this isn't fun, and we need to change this. And I think Ben and I have a very similar idea overall for what we like in pinball, and that is that it's a game that I really like. I think Gary Stern said, I think you said the quote more appropriately to me last night, like close to the flippers, right? That idea that like that very first approach to a game, no matter what quality of player you are, right? A novice, not a pinhead or a good pinhead or a competitive player, right? You walk up to that and it should be intuitive, it should be fun. So like on Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I didn't even know what the theme was the first time I saw the whitewood when they asked me if I'd help out on it. And it's like clearly the door is the easy entry to the game. Bash the door, right? And that moment goes really well with the movie. And then the next level I would say is that modes, right? Like pinheads know modes and know how to play through modes, but those modes need to tell a storyline. Every mode's got to have a moment. It's got to have immersion. It's got to make you go like, ooh, that was cool, and I want to do that again, right? And a cool mode does that even with a simple shot, right? Like that was fun. I turned a spinner into something more than a spinner. And then I think part of the reason these guys wanted me to help out on this is I tend to have a hyper analytical brain, and I think about, okay, how do we take this and make it that tertiary, that third level, that game that I can have in my home and that maybe competitive players are gonna like have that challenge, right? And so people probably haven't even realized this, but the game is quite deep at that tertiary level. It is a combo heavy game. It's a flow heavy game. So Ben and I lean really heavy into utilizing combos and a combo meter. And then we'll have more cues in the game. Like we're really proud, I think, of where the release code is. But we're gonna have more visual cues and call outs yet to come. There's a combo meter, and you actually have a secondary flipper button on the right-hand side. And one of the important things that you use for at the high level is risk reward. So as you've built up your combo meter to say like a 5x shot, you can cash that in with a double tap on the right-hand flipper button. Your next shot will be 5x multiplier. So if you're a really good player at home, you're playing it, and you understand your modes and your multi-balls, well, the real challenge to score big is to probably get a mode, get a multi-ball, have a jackpot and a super jackpot lit before you cash in for that 5x shot that you've built up from your
Well,
combo.
and it's not just a cash in. Like when you double tap the button, you're betting your progress against making the next shot. So if you've got something, if I shoot the door, I'm going to get a super jackpot. So you go ding ding, and it goes shling shling. 5, 4. 3,
How does it go?
I recorded my Cuisinart knives in my bathroom. That's where that came from. Yeah.
You're gonna get plenty of custom sound effects from Ben during
Yeah,
this.
yeah. But yeah, as Hilton was saying, like, okay, well, I've filled it up, so now I can get a 5x. So you can hit the lockdown bar button and say, I'm going to cash in my combos. But the bigger risk is to double tap it, the right-hand extra button. Now I've got 5 seconds to make a shot, and if I get it, since I filled up my meter, I've got 5x, or if it's halfway full, it's 3x, and that's a risk-reward bet. So you better make your next shot good.
Yeah.
And that's why we did it
Or
that
you
way.
hit a 10-point stand-up target.
These guys
You
are
got 5x.
nerds, right?
Yes, it's like what
So this is what they do.
Yeah. So basically,
like
they
what-
sit in an office and they do this for 12 hours
Yeah.
a day.
It's like whatever calls the add score function will get that multiplier if it's a sling or the super jackpot. So make it count.
I think something I like a lot about Ben too that he's not mentioning is Ben understands a lot about film and movies and presentation, and I think you can tell in Texas Chainsaw when he's doing those moments with the mechs that he understands how you build up that moment or how filmmakers build up that moment to really present it well. So
But a lot of that was Hilton because, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, he was like, "Here, Ben, you need more moments in this game. There needs to be the big buildup where the ball eats the shark or the other way around." And that's when I went in and I'm like, okay, we're going to have the boom, 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 boom. because you've got to like remember stuff, right? Like in
He actually
Attack from
recorded
Mars.
those noises for the
all
game.
the sound effects for
You know, we got like boom, 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 boom. Like it's good to have those moments. And Hilton was like, Ben, you need more moments, and that's when I put them in. Like that was like what, October or September?
Yeah, I think it's when polish. It's when polish started to happen, right? We had framework, and that's where things started to feel like a pinball machine, I think.
Yeah, all the modes were there, but the feel is a big part of it. Like you want to make it very visceral.
Yeah, because I got you guys your original whitewood that you started coding on July 21?
2022.
22, yeah. So they had about 18 months
Yep.
before launch, 18, 19 months before launch to where they could.
I mean, I want to talk a little bit about Looney Tunes art for a little bit, so that way he feels like he's doing something up here. Like, but definitely great job. Very good job on Looney Tunes. It is definitely Looney Tunes. So I'm just out of curiosity, like, how does this happen between Spooky Pinball and finding an artist, and how did selecting this individual? How did that all go? How did that work?
Oh boy, now this is a story.
I love this story. So I got an email from this guy named Brad Duke, and I was like, that's a cool name, first off. And I believe he started the email with like, hey, my name's Brad Duke. I was recently an artist for Deep Root. Please keep reading.
Please don't block me, please.
Yeah, he's like, don't block and delete this email. And he was like, well, you can tell more about, I mean, you sent the email, you should really tell more about that.
Oh
but-
man, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I was like, you know, like previous to working for Deep Root, I had no, pinball exposure, didn't know what it was. Well, I knew what it was, just hadn't seen it in real life.
Yeah.
But really developed a love for it there and wanted to continue. And so I was like, please, if you guys have any work, here's like, let's chat. Let me show you some of my stuff.
Yeah. One of the touching parts of it, because like, yeah, it's a funny start to the email, but he had a very endearing part where he was like, I know there's some controversy around that company, yada yada, but he's like, I've really gotten into this hobby. It's something I love, and I want to keep pursuing it. Like, this is something I want to be a part of, and that really spoke to me. I thought that was a very sincere thing to say. And yeah, we checked out the portfolio together, and we were like, well, holy crap, this guy really gets pinball art, because there's good art and there's really good pinball art. Pinball art is an art form of its own self. And yeah, he showed off the portfolio, and we were like, let's give him a run on some Scooby-Doo like assets, features here and there. And then not long after that, we were like, I got the theme for this guy.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, I was super excited. I mean, Looney Tunes is like, obviously, like, it's got such a long history, and it's rich, it's lush. Like, I grew up watching it, so, like, I was just thrilled.
I mean, that's all.
And he's cute, right? Oh, wait, you forgot sound effects. Supposed to do sound of like, that's the pencil.
Right, yeah, it's mostly.
So how long does it take to do an entire playfield? I mean, how long did it take you to do the Looney Tunes playfield?
Oh, man, I don't know.
I gotta say, are you counting approval
I mean, do
processes
you
or not?
I don't know if they pay you by the hour of the job, but just out of curiosity, do you know how many hours it takes you to do something like this?
So I have the number somewhere. It's in a spreadsheet somewhere that I have. I have no idea what it is off the top of my head.
You can't say too little, you can't say too high. Or people are gonna be like, that took you 3 years? Like,
So how's the communication work between like showing him like, hey, here's the playfield, what it looks like, and this is what we're going for? Do you just give him like some sort of like outlines? We want this character here, or we need this character here, or did you just say, just have fun?
we always like to give our artists as much freedom as is reasonable to a project. I mean, we have to give him, hey, this is what the game's about, this is what they're doing, so you don't put, Bugs Bunny in a yogurt stand or something, like he's in the Acme factory. We give him the story. Obviously, he gets the whole layout, everything along those lines. We tell him, like, these are inserts for our modes, but beyond that, we really try to let them do kind of as they please for the most part. I mean, there's already enough restrictions on those things that I don't need to put any more on them, and I think you're going to get the best out of these guys when you let them do what they want to do.
Yeah, like honestly, like having done like illustration stuff for like a long time, you have various different kinds of clients. Some can be really demanding and it can be really suffocating, and it can be just so hard to work on that project. But like working with these guys has just been fantastic. Like having that freedom to really just do, you know, whatever I think would be cool. And you know, sometimes it's not cool, and they tell me it's not cool.
I said, Brad, that's not cool, man.
But yeah, it was so much fun. Like I love to go dive back into Looney Tunes, and I tried to do as much research as possible to like throw in like little Easter eggs all over the playfield, and you know, plastics and all everywhere, to like little you know, my favorite episodes, just episodes I found that I thought were cool. Yeah, it's been a fantastic process.
It's like, so for you, I mean, what was the most challenging part? I mean, so this is your first playfield, correct? I mean, you did stuff over there like at Deep Root and everything, but like, so like for you, which part is the most difficult, or like what found most challenging to like get through of everything else?
Like of all the,
Yeah, like all just doing like a pinball art package. What for you? What is the most challenging?
well, I mean, I think it is the playfield, but it's the most fun part. Like it's the most complex because you have to integrate so many different things. You're working around the inserts, you're working around, which, you know, you can't always move those because there's mechanisms, there's light boards, you know, like some of those are set in stone. So you're
Yeah,
working
so-
around those things.
With the question you asked before, I guess, when I get done with like Playfield CAD, we set up an art template for him, which has the inserts with all the outlines that he does have to work around. So he has some obstacles there because he does have an art template set in stone to an extent, and he's got to build all those shot lines and art around that. You know, you can't have things, I guess there's mechanisms too that you have to deal with a little bit. So we have to be able to get that template set up so, hey, like there's not an insert under this slingshot, and hand that to him. So he does work around a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, and then like you like building art that has like some kind of narrative, but is also like fun in general, but also works for the general like rules. Like if there are certain shots that are more related to a certain mode, then it makes sense to have certain art there. It's very complex, and to get so many ideas working and to hopefully communicate those rules. It's a very interesting and fun part of like an intersection of like illustration and game design and narrative that I think is just a blast.
All right, so
Hey, how about a free T-shirt?
we could start giving out some stuff if we want to. We want.
Wants a T-shirt thrown at them by Cary
Yeah,
Hardy.
I'm just gonna toss it back, and y'all can wrestle for it. Do we need to start greasing everybody up, or
We should have bought a T-shirt gun. I feel like Don would just have one in his pocket.
Yeah,
just
why
so they
don't you
see
have
what
one?
it is?
Why doesn't Don have a T-shirt gun? You're ruining the seminar. It's in the car.
Takes off running.
We've got multiple shirts to give out, so I'm gonna toss one just over my head, back on this side over here. We'll see where it goes.
Oh, it's like the flowers at a
Oh, yeah.
wedding.
And
Congratulations, we're getting married later.
They'll be a beautiful couple.
Be a beautiful ceremony. So, like, Corwin, for you, or Bug, I'm gonna call you Corwin, but like, out of curiosity, so you basically have taken over from your dad of the company, correct? I mean, like, this is now like, you know, you're the big man on campus.
it is most certainly 100% not a one-man kind of thing.
Yeah,
To
I
say
know.
that it takes an army of people to be running that show for sure.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's no secret. Dad has definitely taken a step back in recent years. I mean, we've talked about that. We put him in a very lovely nursing home. He loves telling everybody there, I know Alice Cooper. And they're like, that's nice, sweetie. It's pudding time. No. Dad is very much still around. We call on him for many different things and favors and ideas and opinions. But yeah, I mean, it's no secret that he's definitely taken a step back in recent years. And Luke and I have been assuming most of that role.
I mean, there was things that I was curious about because I've never taken a tour of their facility, and I'm sure a lot of you have not taken a tour of their facility either. Typically at Expo, the main ones around Chicago are the ones that everybody goes to.
Raise your hand if you've been to Benton, Wisconsin.
Oh, it's actually
Hey, that's actually not bad. That's not bad.
That's almost as many people that live there.
They're all
Ben
here.
is one of those Madison elitist people.
Yeah.
That's
Hippie.
redundant.
But so I was wanting to get footage of basically what their factory looked like, just kind of give a lot of you a visualization of like how they do their thing, how they get their games out. And I was kind of curious of why I'm guessing we're not doing that. Can you tell me why we're not showing the facility?
Yeah, so we have, and I can't go into too much details of it, but a very a certain TV show is going to be doing an episode with us in the near future that is going to be showing off our new factory and kind of how our operations are run and everything in the building. And I think it's going to be the nicest presentation of the Spooky Pinball facility that there's ever been, or probably ever will be. So we want to like kind of hold off and show people that when it comes out. I mean, we've definitely done a lot of factory tours, like on Facebook Live. Anybody who shows up in Benton, Wisconsin has earned their way into the facility. I don't care if it's Sunday at 3 a.m., you'll get in. So, but yeah, we'll have a really cool video coming out later in the year, hopefully here, so.
All right, so like back to you being, you know, I say main guy, but you're like multiple people, obviously. But out of curiosity, what is the most challenging part of your job?
What is the most challenging part of work?
Yeah.
Everything.
Everything.
All of it, yeah.
Seminars with Cary Hardy.
Look at my wife on that one. She's like, yeah, I'll tell you about it.
No, I mean, my dad has the saying, pinball is hard, and the whole thing
did he invent
encompasses. I imagine that was
Is that
him, right?
No, that came
Was
from like
his
the
slogan?
Predator days.
Well, he might, anyway. But I mean, there's no aspect of it that's easy for sure. I mean, pinball, it's every type of industry all in one. It's the entertainment of like the film, music, whatever your licensing is. It's the manufacturing, which is by far the hardest part. Manufacturing is one of the most understated, difficult things in the world, I think. And like I said, the entertainment, engaging with the community, all of it is its own special way of challenging. But yeah, working with Ben, as Hilton said. Yeah. We love working with Ben. That's why we brought him back after all these years.
And it's not so much to like point out if you've made mistakes, but if you have made mistakes in your own head, what are some things that you've learned over your course of time in pinball? Because everybody wants to learn from what they've previously done. So is there particular games that you have done that you're like, you know what, next game we're going to do it this way, or you know what, we're going to change things up? Is there anything that you kind of want to like, can elaborate on that you can point out if you want to, that...
I mean, I think we've definitely changed our strategy over time, but I don't know if I would even call any of them a mistake 100%.
Yeah,
Because
that's
we have learned a lot, and I think we've always tried to be that company that does, I guess, admit when we do something wrong and try to make it as right as we possibly can. We're very self-critical as far as everything that we put out and how we can do better, and every day we're kind of changing our process. A big thing on this launch, too, has been just changing our whole manufacturing process again, even before we're moving to the new building. We're kind of making a transition. We have 56 games sitting on the line right now.
Oh, yeah, the factory's full.
We've spread out our QC, so it's happening over the course of 6 to 8 work days, per se, which is almost 2 full weeks. So you have all those machines sitting there. They're getting turned on every day. They're getting played every day.
After they're completed.
Yeah, so basically, I guess another thing maybe people don't know, we do things slightly different probably from some manufacturers where they do maybe large batch manufacturing. We're setting up a set X number of games come up on the line every day. They come from just cabinet pieces, they get assembled, they get decaled, but so many games go up on the line every day and so many games come down on the line every day. But during that time, from the cabinet goes up and that day all the components are placed in the cabinet, and the next day, you got a playfield being dropped in. That game gets play tested, but then it has another 6 days that it moves through phases online where things are being tested, turned on. So that's helped a lot too. We've been able to find a lot more of the electronic issues with that, because turning a game on every single day seems to make some of those parts that we get in, the issues that can possibly happen with them, they show up. Whereas before, maybe you did final inspection, the game was cleared, it was good that day. It's like it goes in a box. But we recently found something like batteries. We had batteries dying on one part, and it's not something you would find if you just clear the game one day and then put it in a box and shipped it to a customer. It could die during transit. But so that's been a big thing on this run is just, I think a main focus for us is that we want to make this the best quality run that we've ever had. So.
But I mean, for every single game we do, I mean, I look back at any of our designs, anything, I'm always like, oh, I would probably tweak that, change this
Yeah,
or
hindsight's
that.
always 20/20. You're like, oh, you know.
But it's it's part of why, and I always hate saying it, it's like every next game we do is always my favorite one because it's always better than our previous one. And I hate that it sounds like BS when I'm like, when they're like, what's your favorite game? And I say like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is. And it sounds like BS because it's like, oh, you're just trying to.
You sound like Gary Stern.
I know, yeah, it sounds like BS, but it's like, no, that's really my favorite one because we've gotten so much better with each game we do.
So I want to share a different hat I wear. I'm 1/3 of Madison Pinball. We're operator in Madison.
Ad
No, I don't want
break.
to share because I've operated every single spooky game built. Well, not Domino's, but I don't really consider that a spooky game. But every spooky game built, it was a subcon, right? It was an offshoot. Every spooky game, America's Most Haunted all the way through, I've built. And as an operator, right, as someone who is critical, and I've been friends with these guys and their dad, right, is that from early on, I expected quality. And the thing that I think really set Spooky apart and why, I don't know, I think a lot of us love them as owners, as operators. I have multiple of their games in my own house, is because they listen and they're accountable. And they, go, okay, yeah, you know what, we can do better next time. And yeah, hot glue's not great. Let's do better connectors, and let's buy a better machine that does better connectors to help automate that process. And hey, your wire management sucks, Luke. Make it better. And he's like, you know what? You're right. And I understand now how like giving a stress relief of a wire is really important to you when you need to fix a part on route, and now you can drop that mech down off the playfield and work on it, right? So like that accountability and like it is reflected in the games. And like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, these guys really, I don't think, probably wanted game number 2 going out as early as it did, but I was like, hey, it's really important to me as the guy helping out with code that I want to see people play it, and I want that feedback loop, and I want it earlier, and like, yeah, it hasn't had as much QC, but I'm going to do it on route, but I can tell you, like, the game is just the best build, and every spooky game that comes out is better than the one before.
Yeah, I've pointed that out before too. I'm like, that's why I was like, Spooky just
I'll
gets
tell you,
better
my
and
partners
better
probably
and
won't be
better.
happy to share numbers, but like our Scooby-Doo has over 14,000 plays on route and has been maybe the most stress-free game at a bar arcade that I've had ever. And it's just a testament to like how stable it's gotten. And I think TCM's even better, frankly, the cable management and the organization and thinking about like feedback. For example, boy, I was really mad that I wanted to make my game harder on Scooby-Doo and I had to drop light boards to move the outlane post to make it a little harder for route. And they listened, and like literally I lifted the hood on the final version of TCM and I'm like, oh sweet, they changed the light boards so now I can reach those posts like you should be able to. And that feedback loop is like evident in every single game I've had, which is frankly part of the reason when they asked me to help out on doing stuff with code, I was happy to work with Ben and do it.
Yeah, just if you don't know Hilton, he operates quite a few games in quite a few locations, and he also runs tournaments. So also when it comes to like feedback on code, he'll also say, "Oh, here's why you should make something that works for tournaments or have a tournament mode." So he's really in the thick of it when it comes to pinball and like boots on the ground, and that's why he's a good person to listen to.
Like Ben, you've been into pinball as a fan and as well as working with Spooky for like how long now? Like
Me?
yeah.
Oh yeah, I first met Charlie Emery at MGC in 2011. I can tell you the story. His buddy Andrew, blue shirt. I met MGC and this drunken kid comes up. By kid I mean he's like 20. He's like, "Oh my God, and I'm like, yeah. I mean, I was drunk too, but I wasn't drunk as this kid. And he's like, you gotta see what we did. We did something really cool. So he takes me over, and then I see this, what is it, Firepower 2, Corwin, that your dad did, the Godzilla game?
I can't hear a word you're saying, Ben.
Really? It's like,
Godzilla retheme.
yeah.
Oh yeah, Godzilla Retheme was like,
It was like a Firepower 2.
Yeah, Firepower 2.
Yeah, so Charlie was working he was a graphic artist, he was working at a sign company, and they had a flatbed printer, so that he had made he turned a Firepower 2 into a custom Godzilla game. This was like in 2011, and he's like, hey, who are you? And I'm like, I'm Ben. And I was like, oh, you've got a flatbed printer.
That's exactly how he said it.
That's exactly how it happened. And so I was like, oh, this guy is cool. He's got access to a flatbed printer. So of course it was completely transactional. And but then he wanted help with adding a speech to this Firepower 2. Like it would like scan the switches, and then he'd be like, Godzilla is coming, like when it saw like, this part of the matrix being hit. So I made him a custom wired soundboard to do that, and then somehow that got turned into Spooky Pinball somehow. So.
America's Most Haunted.
Well, they had, he was working on, what was it called? Atomic Zombies from Beyond the Grave or something
Pinball
like that?
Zombies from Beyond the Grave, the
And-
spooky game that never got made.
Yeah.
Yet.
I did Bill Paxton Pinball in 2010, which I believe was the first homebrew pinball that was like made from scratch, or one of the first. And then we made this really crappy game based off the show Lost. And I remember, what's his face? Steve Gomez was like, oh, this sucks at like a show. And then we did AMH. I'm like, I have to do better. And I took it to, I want to say Expo 2012. And Roger Sharp is there. He's like, I like this game. I'm glad to see this. And I'm like, why? He's like, well, I liked your Bill Paxton game, but then Lost was shit. And I'm glad that you got better. And I'm like, thanks. But basically, I was just doing that for fun. And then it was like, hey, America's Most Haunted, which was called Ghost Squad at the time. It's further along than the zombie game, so we'll do it first. And it was a slow seller at first, but it was actually at Texas Pinball Festival here in 2015.
Yes, sir.
We brought it down, and for whatever reason, y'all, right, we're like, this game is one of the top 2 ghost hunting pinball machine themes of all time. And that's when the sales really took off in 2015. And yeah, so that's my backstory.
Let's give it another shirt over here. Hold on.
Heck yeah.
This is the Bug Screamin' Stream.
Say it 5 times fast, Cary.
I can't do anything 5 times fast. All right. Doesn't fit me. All right, here we go. Congratulations.
Nailed it.
All right, I did ask the community out there if they had any questions for you. So the first question I've got is, what is your next game?
The answer to that is sigh.
You're going to get me on that one of these times.
Don's looking at me like, I know. He's just like staring me down.
So I'm curious, honestly, like, since you brought it to the show, because this is your first appearance at a show with these games. So it's kind of
Correct.
nice that Texas Chainsaw Massacre is here at Texas, and this
we
is
nailed
his
that.
first show to break it in and everything, get feedback from everybody. What has this experience been like? I mean, what kind of feedback have you received? I mean, each of you, like, what are you getting back from people? How are you feeling about this whole launch?
Legit the best feedback I think we've ever received on a machine we've done. And I'm really not just saying it. I mean, our booth has been absolutely crazy this weekend, just jam-packed the whole time. We brought more games to this show than we've ever brought to any show. It's our biggest booth we've ever done. And there's almost no breathing room. It's literally so full of people playing the games. And everybody who comes up is just really addicted to the shots. They wish they could hear it. I wish they could hear it too, because it sounds really good. But yeah, they're absolutely loving it, and it's been just an incredible experience for us the whole weekend. I mean, it's a ton of work to do that booth in there, so I'm really happy everybody's enjoying it as much as they have been.
Luke, you got anything on that one?
Everything he said. I mean, we've never had a response this positive right away on a game. I think people have been wanting a layout like this from us for a long time. And
Yeah.
I think that we set out from the beginning to make that layout that people wanted, and I think we pulled that off 100%.
It's very flowy. That's
Yeah.
why we did a lot of emphasis, well, at least on Texas, emphasis on combos.
Yep. I think the majority of people that walk up to it, it's exactly what they wanted. I mean, it's what they've been hoping for. So.
I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre needs more female screaming, personally, but we'll get that.
Well, we can get you to do that, right?
Very self-critical.
Cary will do it right now.
I'm being murdered.
Perfect. Put it in there. So it's like, when you have the kind of feedback that you have on this, and even with me, like I said, it's your best shooter in my opinion. And it's like, the layout for me is what I first was like, okay, yeah, this is definitely different from anything you've ever done before, kind of thing. And so when you're designing this layout, that was your main purpose, was like, we need something that's completely different.
Yeah,
Or-
Luke and I never want to do the same thing twice in the first place. And, we tend to try pretty unorthodox things that really, it can really turn some people on, but other people, it's just really not for them. And we wanted to find that healthy balance on this one of like, let's really get the one that we know it's flowy enough that everybody's going to be into it, but let's still get our strange features in there that we like to do per game.
So out of curiosity, if you had to just, put a number on it, what percentage-wise do you believe, like, people fancy TCM versus Looney Tunes?
Oh, that number is changing a lot this weekend, I feel like, because before the show, not many people had played it, and Looney Tunes very dominantly in the lead. But since this show, I'm getting a lot of people telling me, much like you, I thought Looney Tunes was for me, but I'm really digging TCM. So that's been really cool to see. I hope it goes back and forth endlessly until the sun burns out.
It's going to, because there's
Out
going to
of
be
curiosity, honest, let's just do a quick poll here. Like, who all here prefers Looney Tunes over TCM? Well, okay. All right, same question, but vice versa. Who prefers TCM over Looney Tunes?
And who prefers Dominoes over both of them? That's my guy.
Hey, can I speak to TCM since I coded it?
Yeah.
So they were like, hey, will you program Texas Chainsaw? I'm like, sure. And I was like thinking about the movie, which I'd seen exactly once before this, right? And then I'm like, okay. And I came back to them. I was thinking of Predator. You remember that fiasco? But one cool idea those guys had, which was a lot better than not having the license, was you are the Predator, right? You are trying to kill Arnold and Carl Weathers. I guess Carl Weathers is dead now. And I'm like, okay, guys, we got to make sure it's okay. We got to ask the license, or yes, you are the killers. Yeah. You are the family. You're killing people. Because in the movies, the hippies have no agency. A hippie walks through a door, dies. Hippie walks through a door, dies. Hippie walks through a door, dies. Hippie gets killed in a wheelchair, and final hot chick sort of escapes, but she's all cut up. So they don't make any choices. They don't do anything. I'm like, let's make it the killers. And the licensor was okay with that. And I said to these guys, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to make it sadistic, bloody, murder, kill, 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 kill. And I wanted it to be like a slaughterhouse box of horrors, and I didn't hold back.
That's how he did it. He actually said all that, just so you know.
All right, there it is, kind of thing. So when it came to like the TCM and everything, that was one thing is I really enjoyed the integration with the meat grinder into the game. And is that something that both of y'all were like, hey, this would be a kind of cool idea, kind of to do, or like immediately, or did you have to like think about how quickly did that come to you, meat grinder implementation?
Well, because whenever you're doing, my voice cracked, wasn't that great? Whenever you're doing any sort of licensed theme, you have to nail with the mechs that it can't be too hyper-specific where it's the same thing over and over and gets redundant, but it also has to represent the theme very well and can be used in numerous ways. And a big premise of this game was always that you're catching victims, you're killing victims, and you're cooking them, because they're cannibals. Well, part of cooking, you have to grind the meat. Like, so they're going to be cutting up the meat. You know, you've seen the hot dog making videos, you know how it's done. And so a part of that is like, what's a cool mechanism that would resemble that for this machine, cooking people, cutting them up. Yeah, that's nice. But it just made perfect sense for the theme.
All right. I want to do some Q&A from the audience here.
Hit me with it.
We got to make sure we get out of here on time because we got a seminar right after this one, I believe, don't we? So I'm not sure how long that's going to last for this Q&A session, but if there's any questions from the audience, by all means, we have a microphone up here if you want to come up here and ask it.
Well, it's very professional.
Oh, yeah, they have
Well done. And we also have a cool, fun game to play later, too.
Yes. Let's give out another
Awesome.
T-shirt.
Yeah, throw out a T-shirt. Put a T-shirt in front of the microphone, and the first person to the microphone gets it.
Eventually, one of them will marry you.
I want to know what Cary Hardy thinks the next game should be, besides BioShock.
He keeps saying BioShock.
BioShock?
He cornered me at dinner the other night. He was like, you need to make BioShock right now.
Hey, actually, Netflix is doing a BioShock miniseries.
That's
aren't
what he
they?
said.
Heck yeah, baby.
You got it.
It's 2K games. That's who does it.
Can I tell you what game I think they should make? DuckTales. What? I keep telling them that. They always like, that's dumb.
He tells me every day.
Every time.
I go down there.
Every time. What's your question, sir?
Well, it's not really a question. I just want Ben to reenact his favorite moment from any pinball game he's coded.
Me?
Yeah.
Your favorite moment from any game?
Wait, my favorite woman?
Moment.
Oh. I would love if someone made a third Attack from Mars, Vengeance from Venus, and all the aliens on Venus are women, right? And then you'd have a kind of a change. You'd be like, get every available man and woman. That's right. Because it takes place in the present.
Yes.
He wants you to reenact your favorite moment, Ben.
This is
gave
from
me
a
a new
future
one.
game.
No. Your
he's
favorite
saying
moment in
this,
pinball.
This moment's coming, he's
Oh,
saying.
you mean,
he's
wait,
planning
so
on
not
doing
Like
in a-
Showtime
not
in
in-
Addams Family or something.
Not in a game?
No, in a game.
Or even one you've written.
It was happy hour before the seminar.
What's your favorite moment?
What's your favorite pinball moment?
Well, I'd love to
Can
tell
you
a
reenact
Python
it?
Angelo story, but they're all X-rated.
Well, don't tell those,
Yeah, I
please.
can't do that. I don't, favorite moment.
Can you say Showtime for this gentleman?
I
Showtime.
should say it. So moment like is like in the hobby or?
No, like
Like in
inside
a-
a game. I think that's what you mean, is in a game, right?
We're getting there, folks. Hang tight.
It's fine. You know, you were just hammering it earlier, and it was great. And I thought, well, I just need to know what's in his brain rolling around.
Reenact the TCM buildup.
I really like the Super Jackpot from Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Okay.
It's like Super Jackpot!
We got him there, folks.
Thank you.
That was like Apollo 13 level.
I like it.
All right, so here's a couple of questions for you. So,
But Cary,
We've heard enough from
I'm
you.
sorry.
No, you're fine. I literally just stood up. I have a question for our Looney Tunes artist.
All right.
Actually, it's not a question, it's a request.
Oh, okay.
I'm a big Looney Tunes fan, and so is my husband. We're hoping to add this game to our house at some point. I would really love it if you would make a cool book where you would then pinpoint all your Easter eggs. Because when you said you hid Easter eggs from the episodes, my brain just went gaga. And I have to go stare at that machine now. And I would really love to know what was your Easter eggs and what was just a part of the design. So at some point, if you ever feel like doing that, I would absolutely buy it and love it. So that is my request.
Oh, man.
great
Because
idea.
I think it looks amazing and weird. My husband's been a Taz fan since the moment I met him, and Marvin the Martian, and just all of that. And so when we found out that Looney Tunes was a new machine, I honestly don't hate me, everybody. I'm not really a pinball person. That's why I run the show. So there hasn't been a machine in the last decade that I was like, I have to have that machine, until I saw that one. And I was like, I have to have that machine. I haven't even played it yet, because I don't get to play anything till the after party. But that's my request, pretty please, because we would absolutely love to know all of those fun little details.
Oh, man, it's going to take a
I was
long
gonna
time.
That's an amazing request. Stop by the booth later. I want to give you a translate for Looney Tunes and a
Man,
Wild
right
Brad
there. That's
sign
what
it.
I was hoping. I was like,
Fantastic.
you just made their night right there. So, are there any plans to make a John Carpenter's The Thing pinball?
It's more so what John Carpenter movie should we do next? Because honestly, there's so many that I think we should keep on doing. And like, The Thing, it is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Oh, no,
I
you
would
gotta
prefer to do that one
man, it
next.
is.
They live and then have like, if you wear sunglasses, different things appear on the playfield.
Mark
I
it
don't
down.
know. I seen some people come
2027.
alive when he said the thing.
It's more of a classic movie, yeah.
Yeah, we would love to.
Out of curiosity, are online features like trophies or anything like that in the future for Spooky Pinball?
To be determined.
Yeah, it's a
don't know.
heck of a discussion internally. It definitely comes up often, and it's just a whole list of things that you're introducing to the company. So, we'll see.
Who here wants to see that, and who doesn't want? I guess first, who here wants to see a connected feature in Spooky Games? I guess a connected.
Oh my God, it's Christopher Franchi, everybody! Oh! Was starting to wonder about you, fella.
Oh, you're not getting away that easy.
When you said you had to drop a deuce, I didn't think it was going to take that long.
I said fashionably late, not.
Sorry, I had an autograph signing to do. I'm popular. Nobody wanted one.
So, Franchi, we're creeping up here on the last end of this right here, so I'm going to try to get a couple of questions into you about basically what all work did you do with this entire launch with the TCM and everything. Let everybody know that.
Fixed it.
All right, take his microphone away.
And that's all from Chris.
We'll put it politely because there's no other need to put it any other way. Apparently the artist kind of lost interest halfway through the playfield, sort of.
It was more so, as we discussed, pinball playfields, it's such a specific art. Pinball art's a very specific thing. You know, back glasses, cabinets, those are general canvases that you can, do, many
T-shirt going
portrait
out.
artists can do. And the artist who did the back glass cabinet, all of that, he got a great start on the playfield, and we basically brought in Chris Franchi to really translate it to pinball. Because like I said, the playfield, it's such a specific style of art that if you're not familiar with pinball, it's really hard to get right without learning. So
Yeah, kind of.
brought in the best guy I could think of to come in and make that playfield be
We're
more
getting the
pinball.
best, but Zombie Yeti was busy. Shit. I mean, poop. Anyway, yeah, I think at the end of the day, we decided that we probably should have just started over because it took so long to try and fix it that it would have been quicker to just do it over. But yeah, I just touched it up a bit and made it a little more pinball-etic, if that's a word.
Yeah.
The artist who did the work, great artist, but not a pinball artist.
Fantastic, yeah.
And pinball art's sort of a animal all its own. And since I'm familiar with it, I was happy to help out and kind of translate that a little bit and make a couple tweaks. I did plastics too, and the apron sticker,
Yeah.
and a bunch of stuff for the LCD screen.
Yeah, honestly, it goes way beyond just the playfield. Like you said, the stickers, decals, all of the on-screen assets all came from Chris, and yeah, really excited.
Yeah, when you get that match at the end of the game and the little bones drop down, that was my idea.
Which, I gotta say, having a Skype meeting between Chris Franchi and Ben Heck at the same time, that is an experience
That'll take
to be
years
had.
off your life.
Yeah,
It's 20% work and 80% look at my toys.
yeah.
Well, I was always like explain. Oh yeah, because didn't we have a long conversation about some stupid thing like?
Oh yeah, you
Yes.
did. You did. After
I can't remember.
Many.
there were 11 of them.
We went off
actually.
topic, and I remember Chris and I was trying to explain to Chris. I'm like, I want to have like these floating icons in the Mode 0 screen, and we didn't quite get there, so we just have like the hitchhiker and whatnot. But the next one will be way more impressive. But it was nice because Chris Franchi can Franchi it up. That's my term. And make the screens look nice and crunchy, and
Franchi it up.
then I just have to animate it.
We
so,
refer to it
yeah.
as the Franchi juice. Been added.
Franchi juice.
Don't let my mom hear that.
Hold on, I just got thirsty. Oh, and Franchi, you mentioned this, and you said that pinball art is a animal of its own. I mean, can you go into a little bit more detail on what do you mean by that exactly?
Well, people who aren't pinball artists, what's the guy's name who did the art?
Terry Wolfinger.
Terrible, fantastic artist, but so if you look at the cabinet, you look at the back glass, it looks great, but playfield art is where you really need to know what you're doing because you have to, I just call it basically marketing shots. Like if you've got an outside orbit or a ramp, whatever, chainsaw ramp, when lit, 500 points, and you have to have some graphics and all of that. That's the stuff that the artists who are just good artists but not pinball artists don't understand how to do, and they get frustrated usually. And
On that topic,
So-
I have a question for Brad Duke. Brad, what was your art background before you started doing pinball at the company that shall not be named?
Oh, that's actually a really good question.
And then how did that transition you into playfield art, and how did you deal with the challenges of the specific things that Chris is talking about? Because it is quite the challenge. I've seen that with other artists as well. Like, how did you navigate those waters, and how do you feel about your journey so far?
I mean, it's been a long road. So I studied school at
You
Harvard.
studied school? This college is quite interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Learn many things. Yeah, so I studied animation illustration. I was originally gearing all my stuff and portfolio to be in the more like feature animation sphere.
Okay.
And
Were you at Avalanche Studios?
what's that?
I'm sorry, go on. Forget I said that.
So I got out of school and started doing some just freelance illustration stuff to make it by. And then one of my buddies who also had graduated so I did freelance illustration for some years. And then after that, eventually one of my friends who was studied animation, was an animator, he was just like, oh, hey, there's this new studio that wants to hire some artists. They do pinball, and they're like, hey, and I was like, all right, like, that's weird. I'm like, man, that's still a thing? All right. So I go in and interview, and they were like, I mean, they basically sold me as like, you know, we're doing pinball right now. In the future, we could possibly move into some other spheres. And I was like, oh, okay, that's more interesting to me. But then they put me on a project, and I started to work on it, and I started to watch, like, I was totally ignorant. I had no idea how to do pinball art, you know? So, like, I started looking at everything I could find, like playfields, anything. Started watching, you know, pop-up tutorials online to understand pinball. And after that, like, it was just, like, I slowly just fell in love with it. And then, like, you know, that company fell apart and desperately grabbed onto another company.
A smile on his face.
And it was an honor.
It did. It fell apart, didn't it?
Well, I just wanted to get your perspective because you were an outsider to the genre, and then you had to deal with some of the challenges that Chris were talking about with the playfield. So that's why I wanted your perspective on that.
Yeah.
So did you find it weird having to translate the visual language of the playfield into your art medium?
Yeah, I mean, it was difficult. I mean, especially, like, when you're working on a screen, I don't know if you deal with this, but, like, sometimes it is difficult to get a sense of scale, you know?
Yes,
Oh, totally.
definitely.
Like, oh, man, I sent you guys a plastic once, like the Daffy Duck plastic.
Oh, dude, this plastic, like, it just sits on top of the right ramp, kind of as a ramp cap, and this thing was an upper playfield. When he sent it, it was ginormous.
Oh, man. Yeah, you resent me the CAD line or the die lines
Yeah.
for it, and I was like, oh, I did it much bigger.
Or you cram a bunch of detail into something, and then it's like, boop, you know, back in the corner, and you can't even read what it is.
Oh yeah, like between the flippers, like I wasn't really sure how it would turn out. So like between the flippers, there's a whole bunch of like film reels, and I took a whole bunch of like shots from various Looney Tunes episodes and put those in there.
There's like 1,000 of those things on that
there's
playfield.
so
It's crazy.
many. I don't know if you'll be able to see like very many
you
of
can.
them, but there's a lot of Easter eggs in
You
those.
can see a lot of those. That's like my favorite Easter egg in the game is all those little film clips. But do you think we can do that playfield game?
Yes, that's what I was about to say. Is like we're going to do the
Absolutely.
playfield giveaway. The thing is, guys, we need 10 volunteers. Those 10 volunteers have a chance to win this playfield. So
First 10 people to the front of the room are gonna have a chance at a Looney Tunes playfield.
you don't have to say anything or anything
You don't.
like
Yeah,
that.
you just gotta
merely-
partake in this silly little game.
You got to
We need 10
partake in a
contestants.
silly little game to win this playfield right here. We got
I'm a
1,
coward.
2,
Put your hands on
3,
your head,
4,
that's it.
5, 6, 7, 8. 2 more people just want to stand up here. Seriously, it is so easy to win a playfield on this right here, guys.
Heck yeah.
Okay, there we go. We got Jason coming up here, and we got somebody else. All right, there's 10. So the game is called Heads and Tails. I'll let you explain it.
So, we've all played heads or tails before. So, it's a very simple game. You guys are just going to decide heads or tails. You're going to put your hands either on your head or on your tail. And then we are going to flip a coin, and last person standing wins the Looney Tunes playfield. And I'm going to let Cary do it because that's too much pressure. So,
All right, so
go
you
ahead
got-
and get in like a straight line so we can see
In
you
a straight
all.
line so we can easily see who's got their hands on their heads or on their tail.
All right.
All right, so go ahead and call it right now. What do you think it's going to be, heads or tails?
So you're going to
Everybody's got their hands where? All right, here we go.
Flipping sound effect from Ben.
ping.
Currently on tails. So,
right, so
if you
heads
had
are
your
out.
hands on your tails, you stay.
Let Ben handle the
And
sound
then
effects.
there were
Ben, you got the
5.
next sound effect.
Here you go.
For the coin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All
All
right.
right, heads or tails?
Heads or tails, call it now. Here we
Oh
go.
boy. This could be it.
It is heads.
I like this guy. He was the one outsider.
Jason. Got you a Looney Tunes
Oh, that was fast.
playfield.
Heck yeah.
Nice.
That's a scratch and dent playfield. It never made it to the clear coat process, so it's got a special finish. We didn't send it through because Franchi farted on it.
Hey, winner dude. Hey, winner dude. I have markers, and the artist would be happy to sign that for you.
Since
All right, guys, is there anything that you wanted to add, say, or anything up here, or we can call it right here? Are we good to go?
I actually have a question for Chris. Do you have any advice for Brad as he continues his journey into the pinball art hobby? Or, I'm sorry, business?
advice for Brad as he continues?
I'm completely, I can drink tons of booze, it doesn't matter.
Ask for more money each game you do.
Ask for more money. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into our seminar. We really appreciate it. You guys
Thanks
are the
for
best.
joining us, guys.
Hit me. I got my marker ready.